My name is Kolawole Akinboye, and I am the host of this podcast, Undercover Guru. And this podcast is devoted to helping people discover and thrive in careers that bring out the best in them and help them to generate superior value for the world. You are going to spend a good chunk of your life working, and you should make the best of it. This is the second episode of this podcast, and whenever you are listening to this podcast, it is being recorded at a time when the world is in the middle of a pandemic like we have never experienced. We have lockdowns all over the world. Companies are going through a very uncertain time, and a lot of people have lost their jobs. And in this same time, there are a lot of fresh, young graduates that are entering the job market looking for a first job. This episode of the podcast is dedicated to helping people that are either applying for a first job or are out of a job and are looking to find another job. I am going to be talking about tips to finding that job you want. So let's get into this. The first tip I have for you if you are looking for a job is to work on your mindset. To get what you want in life, and in this case the job you want, the number one thing you need to first start to work on is your mindset. You have to take responsibility for your life. You have to take responsibility for where you are right now. Whatever it is that has happened to you up to where you are right now was up to you. They happened based on decisions you took that culminated in where you are today. You were born with everything you are searching for, and you cannot blame anybody for any sort of failure or situation you have in your life. Not your parents, not your friends, not the government, not society, not the pandemic, and not even a heavenly being. In this case, maybe God. Realize that you are not a failure. That is the first thing you must know. The reason why I harp a lot on failure as something you must understand that you are not one is because in the process of searching for a job, you will have some no's. You will have people that would say, no, you are not the right fit for it. And you might think the first job you apply for you would get. But I assure you, your skills and everything you do does not fit every job out there. You might apply for jobs that do not fit you, or you might apply for jobs in which the company is not a fit for you, and then you get turned down. When you get turned down when applying for a job, understand that the failure in that instance is feedback. Failure teaches you what doesn't work. Failure and defeat are two different things. You can choose to understand that one job you applied for that you failed to get is not a defeat for you, but just feedback. And failure is how success is earned. Ask yourself, what did that experience teach me? What do I need to do different next time? Ensure that every time you try to reach for a job and you do not get it, that you ask yourself these questions. And remember, you need to leave the past in the past. History is what happened in the past. It doesn't have to be what's happening now and in your future. What happened in your previous job, what happened while you are in school, what happened with your previous boss, those things are history. Rear view living is marked by blame, anger, and self-pity, none of which are great foundations to build any sort of hope-filled future on. Remember, your future is up to you. You have to face up to it. I personally cannot count the number of jobs I've applied for. I can't even count the number of interviews that I've gone for and I got turned down. When I was searching for a job at some point, I had a notebook that I used to write every single job I applied for, and the notebook was full. I applied for every job I could think of. I got a lot of no's, but I never let the no's get to me. You can't let it get to you. Failure is feedback. Tip number 2, finding a job is a job. You have to structure your life properly when you are looking for a job and develop a daily routine that works for you. For example, I schedule quite a few things into my daily routine, and they help me to be effective. And it works either when you're searching for a job or when you do have that job. Your life needs to have a daily routine for you to get the best out of it. In my daily routine, I put in Exercise time. I try to break a sweat every day. It calms me down, puts me in a great mood. I try to read every day. I try to write every day. I spend time in meditation and prayer. And I also try to get enough sleep. And then I spend a little part of my day serving others. I set my schedule most of the time so that I can deep dive something that really interests me and just get into it. You need to have a schedule for when you are looking for that job. If you think that you do not have enough time in the day for you to look for a job while doing different chores around the house or running errands or doing other things you think are important, you are okay allowing Netflix, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and other social media to wash away your worries and in some cases even add to them. You are okay allowing anxiety and worry to rule your existence. You are okay allowing others to pay your bills. You need to not be okay with that. You are okay with playing and being average. You are okay with not making a plan and just reacting to life. If you do not make a routine for your day, if you do not make finding a job an actual job, you are not going to go very far. You are not going to get the kind of job you want. Tip number 3. Package yourself. Some things are within your control. Number 1, you get to choose how you communicate. Number 2, you get to choose how you relate. You need to be seen in a way that you want to be seen. A friend of mine gave an analogy once. He said you can choose to be who you want to be. He said you can be a slave, you can be a playboy, or you can be a prince. Everything about you must fit into some package. How you dress, how you look, how you speak, the things you talk about. And all that packaging starts with things like how your CV looks, the wording of your emails, when you are trying to get a recruiter or an HR person to take note of you. And even when they do take note of your interesting CV that shows the nice things you've achieved, or that shows the potential you have, or that shows the very nice education that you have had, the next part of it is for you to show up. When you show up, how do you dress? How do you pronounce your words? How do you say the things you say? How do you even behave when you are waiting at the reception for them to call you up? You need to be deliberate about how you are perceived. You need to be deliberate about how you look, the things you say, and how you come across. They are within your control. If you know you are not good enough with communication, if you know you are not good enough with dressing well, why not find someone to help you? There are tons of materials out there that could help you become a better communicator. There are lots of people out there giving tips every day on Instagram and other social media on how to dress, on how to combine your outfits, on the kind of things you should not wear to an interview, on the kind of things you should wear to an interview, on the kind of things you should say or shouldn't say. I am going to record an episode in which I will talk a lot more about how to handle an interview. But suffice it to say on this episode that you need to package yourself properly to get the kind of job you want. The last thing you need to do apart from packaging yourself is to master interviewing skills. When you have reached the stage where an employer is interested in you and has reached out to you to call you to come to have a chat, and then you go for that chat, you need to master how to handle that situation. I assume you have already worked on your packaging and you have dressed properly in a neat and clean manner with good grooming of your nails and your hair. You've polished your shoes, you've ironed your clothes, you look pretty decent. I'll assume you've done all of that. Now you need to master the real interviewing skills. You need to understand that how you come across is being judged all through that interview. What helps you to pass any interview you go for is the first tip I gave you. Work on your mindset. When your mindset is right, you will of course answer some questions the right way, regardless of how you have trained about being interviewed. The number one thing you must do in an interview is to be confident. The very worst they can do, or the very worst that can happen to you, is that they say no and they do not give you the job. You walk out of there, you are still free. Your freedom is yours. They can never take that away from you. So be confident. You are there to put your best foot forward. You are there to show them the best version of you. Be confident about that. Try to do some dry runs with a friend. Practice makes perfect. Look for common interview questions. Let them ask those questions of you and answer them in a truthful, clear, and concise manner. Understand the right answers to some basic questions. There are questions that have been asked in multiple interviews. Go on Quora or other search fora and find out the kind of answers that people have already given to those questions. There is no need to reinvent the wheel in many situations. Just find out the perfect answers to those questions. Rehearse them with a friend and you should be good to go. Finally, be conscious of yourself and your surroundings. When in an interview, be gracious. Sit properly. And I'll tell you one secret. Try to mimic the interviewer. When they cross their legs, you cross your legs. When they smile, you smile. Be conscious of yourself and surroundings. Look people in the eye. Give people a firm handshake. Answer questions clearly. Answer them concisely. When I talk about being conscious of yourself and your surroundings, remember, things like picking your nose unconsciously while you're facing the interviewer are a definite no-no. So please, be very conscious of yourself and your surroundings. You are not in a fraternity party. Neither are you at the club with some friends. You are at an interview. Be conscious of where you are. I'll leave you with this. It's difficult enough to decide on a career and to pursue it. It's difficult enough to lose a job. It's difficult enough to be launching out into the job market in a time of uncertainty like this. Rejection hurts. But remember the first thing I said. Your mindset is the key to winning this battle you are entering. Your mindset is the key to getting the kind of job you want. If your mindset is wrong, you wouldn't even apply for the jobs you are qualified for because you would have talked yourself out of it even before you sent in the application. If you take nothing else away from this, remember, work on your mindset. I would say my 4 tips again. Tip number 1, work on your mindset. Tip number 2, finding a job is a job. Develop a daily routine. Tip number 3, package yourself. And tip number 4, master interviewing skills. Thank you very much for listening to the Undercover Guru podcast this week. I hope to come back to you again next week with more information about things that would help you create and thrive in the career you deserve.